That's the one!
Hello everyone, this is the best podcast we got. I'm Justin.
And I'm Steven.
And today we're going to be talking about the Salem witch trials. So if you're interested in listening to that, keep listening and like and subscribe. If not, there's other stuff. There's other stuff you can listen to.
Yes.
We got a whole bunch of other episodes.
Yeah.
Episode 21 here.
21.
Yep.
Very nice.
So we're going to be covering the infamous Salem witch trials. Happened in 1692 after a group of young girls from Salem, Massachusetts, Salem Village, Massachusetts, claimed they were possessed by the devil and accused several other women of witchcraft. There was a wave of hysteria that spread throughout Massachusetts. A special court was convened in Salem to hear these cases. The first convicted witch, Bridget Bishop, was hanged in that June. 18 others would follow Bishop. Salem, in Salem, you can still see Gallow Hill today, the supposed spot where all the people were hung.
And supposedly haunted.
150 other men, women, and children were accused over the next several months. By September 1692, the hysteria had begun to abate, though, and public opinion turned against the trials. But to give a little context here, at that time, the belief in supernatural and devilish practices from witches really came from, like, unknown about,
Well, just think about how crazy at the time that you have in a court of law being like, witchcraft.
Well,
I am being bewitched. And then they go to an actual courthouse to discuss witchcraft as like a crime. Like, he cast a spell on my cattle and all this shit.
Yeah.
It was I heard that witchcraft in general amongst like, just like village and stuff was kind of practical. It was, not practical, kind of prevalent. It was like called folk magic. So like, they would do like...
Well, they had like the law of magic. Like people...
I don't know what...
Believed... Like,
section of magic or something like that. But yeah, it's like...
But it was the devil's practice.
Well, no, not originally. The regular people... Because it's a whole different from pagan religions. Like they would worship like, forest gods or shit like that.
A goat.
The goat man, yeah. But he's only one of many.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of them. Like they would normally practice like divinations and like... predicting, like reading omens, predicting the future and all that stuff. And the original case, when this all started, the two girls that got bewitched,
yep,
supposedly they were doing these kinds of pagan divinations to see who they would marry originally. And then that was like one of the, the accusations that instead of they did this little ritual thing and they danced around and did this thing
taught to them by Tituba.
Yeah, that was a big conspiracy. Yeah. Supposedly she taught them.
Tituba.
Tituba? Titula?
Tituba.
Tituba. Yes, that's the name. No, it's Tituba.
No.
It is
Tituba now.
No, it's Tituba.
It's Tituba.
Tituba sounds better.
Yeah.
Tituba sounds like cool. Tituba, it sounds like a demon.
Yeah. I think that's just demonizing her.
Pronounce that again?
Tituba.
Tituba.
It's funny, it has tit in it.
Tituba.
Yeah.
Tituba.
Tituba.
I don't know why.
Tituba.
Tituba just sounds so much better.
Yeah.
Tituba.
I like Tituba.
Anyway, Tituba, continue.
So yeah, she supposedly taught the kids this ritual of how they would find out who they would marry, and according to the ritual or something like that, they were supposed to see in a vision their husband's face, or like presence, when like a ghost, like a presence or vision would see him.
Yep.
But instead of seeing their husband, they pretty much saw this like a demon or the devil, or like the representation of the devil, or whatever the fucking they're doing.
Yeah.
Or they were just making it all up.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
True.
Another thing with
one of the things.
What Tituba.
Tituba.
I'm going to say Tituba.
You say tit to the butt, and I'll say Tituba.
Tit to the butt. Tituba, though, that ritual that she supposedly had taught the kids was an English, like a magic, like a ritual that was pagan or English in Western civilization. It wasn't. She was Indian, right?
Yeah, from the Barbados.
Barbados, yeah. So she would not have had that knowledge of that ritual. She has her own set of magical things or magic performance rituals. You say that.
But to like bring people back into that time, during that time, it was like a real grueling living. You know, it was like you're out in the countryside. There's not much. You know, the Puritan community is pretty strict, you know, and these people had...
Well, I mean, the Puritans...
Yeah.
I mean, it just seemed like... Now, times are already hard and tough and stuff like that, but they were like, everything that's kind of fun in life, you can't do and it's demonized or you're going to hell.
Yeah, but not only that fact that, like, it's not fun, but also, like, they just had, like, smallpox, and then like Native Americans were attacking and killing a lot of them, and that's where the dark presence and all this they associate it with the Native Americans, and that was from the French and Indian War. So they're like pretty close to where all the action was happening in Salem Village. So it was like.
Yeah, because it was like further up north, a few miles away, was York. Yeah, and York had just got like pretty much sacked and burned.
Yeah, right before the trials.
Yeah, it was
had really started heating up.
So they were all scared that the Indians were going to.
So there was all this built up fear from not just strict society and just the daily grind of having to live in that time period, but also they had smallpox diseases that they would stick leeches on you because they didn't know how to cure, and then they had Indians going into your towns and just decimating the entire population, because there was obviously a back and forth battle between the two groups. It actually all started because Indians came into towns to trade, and they just captured them and killed them,
or enslaved them.
Yeah,
I mean that's pretty fucked up. Like, hey friends, let's do some trade.
Hey, you want to trade?
No, you're never leaving.
No, we're just gonna take your shit.
So Tituba maybe did teach the girls some kind of ritual or something. It wasn't, then, oh, hey, girls, you want to perform something to your husband? He is the devil, They think they're gonna see the performer a little thing to see who they'll marry. It's like, and in the back of her head, she's just like, "No, these kids are gonna see the devil because their parents enslaved me."
Yeah,
So I don't know. That could be, she had a motivation for being kind of mean.
So the two girls that you were speaking about were Elizabeth Betty Paris and Abigail Williams.
Mm-hmm.
Those were the two that were having fits. They were violently uncomfortable, contorting all around, and not with it,
seeing shit.
They were seeing things, and a local doctor couldn't figure out what was wrong with them. So obviously, what they did at that point was they're bewitched.
Well, a side note that I figured out researching, that doctor could read, but he couldn't write.
Yeah.
So that's just how intelligent the doctor was. He could read and not write.
Listen, I can't figure out what this was. These girls are witches.
These are witches. Yeah, they no way have epilepsy or something like that. Or
I can't figure this out, guys. This is something from Satan's book.
Yeah, this is Satan.
I get how he can't figure that out.
Well, just because doctors at that time, there wasn't widespread knowledge of a lot of diseases.
In the time, it was witches were a thing. Like, it was real. Like, in their mind was like, oh yeah, of course witches are a thing. Yeah. And you can set curses and all this other shit was very real to them.
Well, yeah, because they had people who were natural healers and all that kind of stuff, where people use herb remedies to fix, and those people were witches.
Yeah, they were the
Yeah. Those
And
people just witched around.
if they failed, then they're witches. But if they were successful, then they were healers. Really putting yourself out there as a quote-unquote witch
Yeah.
or healer.
I mean, you could make some big bucks until you get it
Until
wrong.
you fuck up. Yeah. Well, I mean, it still happens today with medical malpractice. That's why they have so high-end medical insurance. The doctor's insurance. They get a certain kind of witch hunting going after them, too.
But I mean, another thing to put into context, like for society, Puritans didn't believe in like you settling your disputes with fighting each other, so they encouraged people to sue each other in court. So that's where the whole like you're bringing somebody to court that you don't like.
Yeah,
right? That's the whole that's where you stated your grievances and that's how society was in Massachusetts.
It's a more civilized way of conducting disputes versus
I sue you. You stepped on my shoe, so I sue you.
You are sued. Yeah, they were kind of sue crazy at the time.
They sued a lot at the time, and
well, I mean, I guess it's a step up from just beating the shit out of each other, like on the regular, or killing each other.
Maybe, but maybe the people need to get their aggression out.
I mean,
these people were all.
I guess
they're all tied up.
You're right, I guess, but I mean, like
wearing their little hats and their suits every day.
I mean, to talk it out in the court of law isn't necessarily the step in the wrong direction versus just beating the shit out of each other. I mean, but it did lead to a lot of people hanging and burned at the stake. So.
Well, led to a lot of grudges being held. So, and you would later see that in the trials, like people harboring long hatred because they weren't able to kind of
get it all out.
Instead, it was like there were a few people who came from wealthier families, and they kind of just always won the suits. Yeah.
Well, I mean, at the time, the rich really, it's not much has changed because like the rich people could afford lawyers too. Yeah. And there was no such thing as like a defense attorney.
There was no public defense.
You had to defend yourself, and a lot of the witch accusations, you were guilty till proven innocent.
Yeah, so it's the opposite of today. You're guilty until proven innocent, and that just a different court system.
I mean, I guess you're right with the sue happiness of this because it was more or less like,
it's great. It's like, you're already guilty.
Witch. Yeah, you're a witch. Prove me you're not a witch. And then it's like, how the fuck do I prove you that I'm not a witch? What am I doing? Yeah. Then it's like, all right, now confess that you're a witch, or you die. Or you die later. It's getting shit. It's a really bad choice. It's like,
yeah, I mean, there really wasn't many options for people going through that system, right? Like you said, you had to prove that you were innocent. Yeah. You were already assumed guilty.
Yeah.
So, when somebody brought a suit upon you, it was like, oh, fuck. How do I prove that I'm not guilty? I can't even read.
There's no security footage, just anything like that. It's like, how the fuck do you prove that? It's like, have you seen a ghost? It's like that. Like, it's intangible. It's like,
yeah.
It's like crazy.
So in the first trial, we can move on. We can talk about how the two girls who were exhibiting, they were bewitched, and when they went to trial, they basically point out Tituba.
Well, they accused
two other
women. And
two homeless women.
Yeah, one was homeless, and one was just the other lady was just like, she wasn't married, and I guess she was kind of like a reputation for, sleeping around. Yeah. She was like, she didn't have a husband or nothing, and she was very promiscuous, just an independent woman, really. Yeah. And then they were like, yeah, she's a witch. And then evidently they have the court trials have been very well documented. Like, they still have transcripts from the actual proceedings. Yeah. And like they were saying how the woman, I think Betty was her name. Was that the older woman?
I believe it was.
Well, anyway, one of them, they would what they would do is, if the woman moved their head, the bewitched girls that were in the front would just stop spazzing out and moving their head and doing this weird things. And if they moved their hands, they would contort in such a way that it made it look like the woman that was accused was like, had some kind of sway over the bewitched women, kids. They were like between 12 and 20. It was, I think, 3 of them, right? 3 or 4 of them.
Yeah, there was a few. Yeah, at that point, it was the 2 girls, evolved into other girls. It was Mercy Lewis. That was the girl who came from a family who the Indians killed her family.
Oh yeah, I heard about that one. Yeah, because she was like, when she was a kid, her family's house got raided by Indians, and they were all killed, and she just had hid away, and they didn't get her. But obviously traumatized,
Yeah, so. Her, Elizabeth Hubbard, Mary Walcott, and Mary Warren. So those were the girls in the trial who had said that they've seen Satan's book and they knew who. Yeah,
they were called the afflicted. Yeah, right.
So they blamed Tituba. I'm just saying it now because she hates it.
Yeah, no. Tituba.
They blamed a poor beggar called Sarah Good and an elderly woman called Sarah Osborne were the first 3 to get accused of witchcraft.
Yep.
But and if you think about it like this, these people weren't like prominent people, so it was like they weren't gonna easily defend themselves. It was like almost like the perfect few people. One is a slave, another one is
a poor woman,
begging woman, and then the other one is an elderly woman who lives on her own.
Yeah,
so it was like people that they knew they weren't getting a fight out of.
Yeah. Really, it just seems like the public had something to talk about. Yeah, because it was like, it was hard times and everything, and like all this shit going on, and they were just like, yo, we got witches in this town. Shit's going down. And it was like an event every time they'd had the trial. Like the whole town was there. Yeah. And they'd see these kids up front just like flailing around like they're like bewitched and getting hit by a ghost and shit. Yeah. And then like the people up front are like, no, don't fucking kill me. I didn't do it. I have no idea what's going on. And then you have Tituba. Yeah. Teshuba. I don't know. And
she saw the writing on the wall. She was like...
And then she just comes up with this bullshit story. About like... flying to Boston to this meeting, and like a lot of like she flew to Boston and then had a book and signed with blood, and there was like these orgies and stuff going on, I think.
Yep.
Kinds of shit.
So those 3 women were all brought between the 2 magistrates, Jonathan Corwin and John Hawthorne. And they were questioned. Tituba confessed. She said that she basically was like an informant, right? She was like she's giving them exactly what they want,
or exactly what they wanted to hear, really. Because I don't really think she was guilty.
She said that she was acting in service of the devil against the Puritans. So she wanted, her goal was to spread the devil through the community, and she accused others, including Martha Corey, Rebecca Nurse, who were both regarded as upstanding members of the church and community, and a 4-year-old daughter, Sarah Good.
Well, I mean, think about it. She's a slave, essentially. Yeah. So, I mean, now you get all these people, you're in the center of attention in this trial, and then they're like, you're a witch, tell us you're a witch, do this. And then she's just like, shit, I'm gonna get beat up if I say no. If I just should say what I gotta say. And then in the back of her head, she's like, oh, you know what? I can send all these bitches that were fucking, giving
all
me
these
problems.
bitches that were witches to me.
And think about it. I mean, the homeless one was supposedly aggressive, so maybe she like one night would treat Tituba like shit or something, and she was like,
the homeless lady was accused with Tituba.
Yeah, no. I thought Tituba pointed them out.
No. It was the girls, the original girls.
The original girls?
They pointed out.
Oh, I thought Tituba pointed out the other 3, and that's how she was like, because when she went to the the supposed Sabbath thing, she's seen other people in town.
Yeah.
Because she signed a book in her blood, or made the sign over her soul, and then she saw other names in the book.
Yeah, and she did say that. And she did point out several other women.
In town, pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, she pointed out several people.
But the motivation is there though, because it's like she's already at the stage. She's like, I'm gonna get all these other fucking people down there and fuck them up too, because now she has the power to just assign the witches the, I mean, it's a smart play in her shoes.
She's somebody who was obviously accustomed to being, looked down upon and
mistreated.
Obviously beaten and mistreated. So she knew there was nothing good to come of it.
Yeah, she was.
So why not take this out a little further? And maybe even somebody might have told her too. There was no
one's in her best interest.
Nothing was in her best interest, but some people speculate that she was told to kind of say something like that.
Well, I mean, I think to some degree she was. Because you have these people and they need the scapegoat of, there's witches in here and that's why these girls are the way they are. Like, they're looking for a reason for it. And they're like, listen, we know it's you. It's got to be you. Like, shut up. This is you. We know it's you. Because then that's the perfect scapegoat. That's the answer to all their, the girls' problems. So, I think she was definitely coerced into coming up with this fucking crazy story on the spot,
Well, everybody who was there had to either confess or give names.
Yeah.
Well, they had to confess and then give names, or they were tortured.
They were killed. Yeah, tortured and killed pretty much. Yeah. Tell us who's your accomplices.
Yeah.
Confess. Yeah, and that goes back to the questioning. It wasn't are you a witch? It was how long have you been a witch? Well, it was the questioning for it was fucking super
Well, because it just goes back to the point where you're guilty already, right? So you have to prove you're innocent, and it's they're not asking you are you a witch? No, how long have you been witching around?
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, fucking very. How do you the response to that?
Yeah.
It's tough to get. If you get caught up in a fuck up moment and you accidentally say something and it's you're a witch, you're a witch.
You're a witch.
Everyone wants her to be the witch. No one is on her side, and that's the.
Well, and everyone wants there to be more witches because they want this to continue. I mean, imagine society sucks. This is the only thing that's interesting that's going on. Right? But I mean, it starts to get out of hand, right? The first person, like I said, was killed and hung for saying that she wasn't a witch. Yeah. Right? She was the first person, no, I'm not a witch.
Yeah, what is bizarre, because if they confessed, they pretty much lived. Yeah. But if you wouldn't, I'm not a witch, then how do you distinguish who's telling the truth or not, It's all right, say this or you die, so that it has to perpetuate the witch fantasy that's going around town,
Yeah, I mean, and the crazy thing is there's no upside to saying that you're not a witch.
It's
if you say you are not a witch, you just get hung. So it's you either say you are a witch and fold on some other people, and then you get to live.
Yeah, which is weird. It's in the heat of in the time period when this thing was in full swing. Yeah, and the witch hunts had spread to a neighboring county and everything like that. The family members of the accused, anyone that was accused of being a witch, their family would be just lie, just say you're a witch. Yeah, just to not be killed. But then you had these other people that were no, fuck you, I'm not a witch. Yeah. And these people were religious too, so you didn't want to say that I assigned my soul over to the devil in a public forum, because then that would condemn your soul to hell. So they would want to no, I'm not a witch. I'm not evil. I don't do this.
Yeah, these people were, these people were Puritans, and they were really religious, and those who were, the most devout seemed to be the ones who were the ones who oh no, I wasn't a witch. Hang them.
Yeah, it's fucked up.
So, I mean, it all went that way until the one guy decided to take a stand and was no, not a witch. all right, confess you're a witch, and they just keep piling stones on him.
Yeah, big stones on top of his stomach as he's slowly being crushed to death. Like, I think it was days.
Yeah.
It was like 2 days, I think, and then they just...
What was the name of that guy? I'm trying to
get his name.
I just remember he's getting the stones stacked on him. And they're like...
Confess.
They said every like couple of minutes they kept telling him to confess, and he was just like, more stones.
Yeah, like, fuck you.
Yeah. He was...
He's a badass.
Until, you know, it got to a point where, you know...
Couldn't breathe.
And then Gaius Corey.
Gaius Corey.
Gaius Corey.
Giles.
Corey.
Giles Corey.
Giles.
Because his wife was originally accused, and Martha Corey. So, and then he was like, oh yeah, she must be a witch.
Well, that guy was in the...
He was like a devout, like, Puritan, and he was like, he really believed in this court. And then, you know, his wife got accused, then he was like, oh, she must be a witch.
Well, I think there was, like, he was involved in, like, all the other ones, what are they called? The afflicted?
Yep.
The girls?
Yeah.
They all kind of said that when they were at the Sabbaths, he was there.
Yeah.
Like, they really pointed him out, like, he's part of the, you know, what the fuck are they called? It's not a coven. They didn't use coven. But something like that, like in the Sabbath.
Yeah.
So they really pointed him out, and then he was like, no, fuck that.
Yeah.
And
well, he was there at all the trials, right?
Yeah.
It seemed to be like they were...
This was much later in the process.
And, like, another thing is, like, everybody knew everybody in this small village, and, you know, a lot of these people had grievances with other people, so it's like they started picking and choosing who, and then the other girls just fell in line and started going crazy, like, pointing and...
well, it's like any kind of land dispute or just a vendetta, instead of like suing them for like the legal things, like, because that's difficult.
Yeah.
You have to have evidence and stuff like that, but you could just say, he's a witch, she's a witch. Hey, you give me part of this land or I'm going to accuse your wife of being a witch.
Yeah.
And then that's, you know, whole much more problems.
Well, that leads to another thing is the whole other part of it, where if you were found to be a witch, your land, you forfeited your land.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah. So what people didn't know was as punishment, a lot of these people, these 150 people who were accused, not all of them were hung. Some of them forfeited their land instead, which basically drove them into complete poverty to become like beggars on the street.
I did hear that there was a bit of corruption, like a corruption scandal or conspiracy in the town, because the minister, or the guy that was like, I think he was the minister of the town of Salem, and then he knew the sheriff, or his nephew was the sheriff.
Well, no, it was one of the magistrates.
Yeah, magistrates. Yeah,
one of the magistrates who was prosecuting the people. I think his nephew.
Yeah.
Was like the sheriff. Was Sheriff Corwin. Yeah. So it was Magistrate Corwin.
And then evidently he would just go in and take people's shit. Like,
yeah. So he would just go. That was against the law. He would just
go in and take people's shit.
But what was a part of the law was when you were in jail, you had to pay room and board.
Yeah.
And not only that, you only got bread and water. So a lot of people like were starving in prison.
I heard you even had to pay for the food and water.
No, the bread, like you got like a piece of bread and water. You had to pay for everything above that. Yeah. So if you wanted vegetables or like more bread, like a loaf of bread, something that you would need to survive, you know?
So fucked up. It's like, you're in jail, but you have to pay rent. Yeah. It's like, how the fuck am I going to pay rent? I'm in jail. Yeah. It's so messed up.
It was messed up. And this guy, a large portion of the money went to Sheriff Corwin. So he got a lot of the money.
Yeah, he made out on it.
Not only did he make out, but the magistrates made it out by being paid to continue to prosecute all these cases.
It was beneficial for him to keep this going, because every witch case he had more money.
Yeah.
And then and
not only that, his nephew's
got the kickbacks. Yeah.
Not only that, this guy's also confiscating their property and
getting rich.
Yeah, he's getting rich. So it was lucrative for some of these people to continue to keep the charade going.
Wasn't one of the main magistrates, wasn't his niece, or he was related to one of the afflicted girls?
Later on, I believe, late in the trial.
It was like one of his, like, so he knew
Sheriff,
One of them.
Sheriff Corwin was related to Jonathan Corwin, the magistrate.
They weren't related to any of the girls that were bewitched.
I don't believe so. I know that that would definitely need a fact check over there.
But anyway, that would be even more fucked up too, because that would be
If the Corwins had somebody who was afflicted, like
one of the girls that were.
I mean, the thing was, it was like I said, it was lucrative for them to continue this. This charade, and it really continued to go on and on and on for a long time until the governor's daughter was the one who was finally named as one of the witches, and
whoa, too far.
He was like, whoa, no, this isn't real anymore. This witch trial's over.
Yeah, Corwin was related to Judge John Hawthorne. He was a brother-in-law.
Yep.
Yeah.
His mother-in-law, when she died, their servant had accused her of witchcraft. That's like the closest connection besides.
Yeah.
That's all it's
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. They probably wouldn't have solved the case, the magistrates.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying.
But it wasn't until the minister, or it was either the minister or of the colony or the governor. I forget who it was. One of those two ended up like their wife or their kid got like basically accused, and that was where it started to fall apart.
I think another thing that I heard was that the public was, after seeing so many people start dying and being hung, they started being like, is this shit real? Like,
Well, yeah,
should we not maybe do this? Because I think one of the guys that were Putnam.
Yeah, when they were getting ready to hang him, people were like, no. And
because he recited the Lord's Prayer.
Oh no, that wasn't him. That was an actual minister.
Oh yeah, he was an ex-minister.
He was he was a minister.
He couldn't officially. He wasn't ordained.
Yeah, he wasn't ordained.
Yeah.
So he was a minister, and he was
just about to be hung,
and he started reciting a prayer. And for those who don't know, witches can't recite
the Lord's Prayer. Yeah.
Recite the Lord's Prayer because the devil working in them.
But he did.
He did it perfectly, which pretty kudos to him. He's about to die, and he's reciting the Lord's Prayer.
Yeah.
And remembered it word for word.
Well, evidently the crowd was like, "Stop!"
Yeah.
They thought he was innocent.
Yeah, and then Hawthorne came.
Yeah, and it was like, "Whoa, no, he is not.
No, he's not innocent. Okay.
He will burn." He wins the crowd back over.
He wins the crowd over by saying that the demon the devil can work in mysterious ways.
I don't know if he used the mysterious ways.
He's able to
devious ways.
Yeah.
Maybe.
He's able to try to fool regular folk.
It's so fucked up the way that they really want,
But that's what I mean. They kept it going because it was really beneficial to the magistrates and really beneficial to the sheriff. So a lot of people think.
But on the outside looking in, though, it had to be pretty much like you start seeing these people's, people die, lives destroyed. Like it is everyone in the community. Everyone knows everybody. So eventually, these people got to be like, "Oh, we're doing some fucked up shit here."
Yeah,
like, this should probably stop now because
Well, what really turned the tide was they mandated that spectral evidence was no longer allowed, and that was a big factor in basically getting the okay to condemn these people.
The court of law, the spectral evidence, that was when the supposed bewitched person, the victim of the witch,
the ghost of a person,
they would
to them at night.
Yeah, like the witch would curse them, or the devil would take on the likeness of the person that was cursing the victim. Yeah. So they would have visions of their cursor, or So then that would be considered spectral evidence,
aka bad dream.
Yeah, no, right? Just like, aka bullshit, right?
Yeah.
Because
or bullshit.
Yeah, it's just like
you didn't like Timmy down the street. So
it was Timmy. Timmy did it. I had a dream about him last night. He was beating the shit out of me.
He was standing over me, just slapped me in the face. for no reason.
Yeah. And then another thing, did you notice that a lot of the accounts of these spectral beatings involved like needles? Like they would get pricked with needles?
No, I didn't.
I had like three different things I read say that the spectral entities would stab them with pins and needles.
Huh.
And I thought that was strange because that's kind of similar to like a UFO abduction, you know, getting stuck and prodded with needles. So I was like, hey, maybe they're fucking aliens.
Well, when I was doing some of my research, I saw a lot of people were saying, "Oh, like if people today were around, they would never believe such a thing." But they were like, "No, people believe some really weird, fucked up shit now."
Bigfoot.
Yeah, like,
aliens.
you could probably sway some people by just telling them this is the truth, and they would believe it because a lot of people obviously won't go and figure out whether it's the truth or not, right? So
yeah, I mean,
to them this was the truth, and today, I mean, like I forget how many people believe in UFOs. It's kind of
pretty
like,
high.
It's kind of like a similar thing.
Well, I think it might be, but I think, looking back, maybe like in the 70s or something, like if you said you saw an alien or something like that, you were kind of like, this guy's crazy.
Yeah.
Like it had a negative, like a negative thing on you, right? But like, what is it called? Stigma about it, yeah.
Yeah.
But back in the day, if you believed in witches and like the evil, like the devil and stuff like that, it was accepted socially.
Yeah.
So it wasn't as like, you know, demonizing.
Yeah. But, you know, now, you know, you can't look back now and say you would have done, you know, with today's foresight saying that you would have done better.
Well, it's more like
tough to say.
It's just, yeah, in different times, and like, you have assholes in there that want to take charge or take advantage of the situation, like the magistrates.
And you'll have that in every society, every time period going on.
I mean, we've had witch hunts since this one, like the communists, the Red Scare. It was like everyone thought their neighbor was communist. It was similar. I mean, lives were destroyed during that too.
Yeah.
Like, you know, instead of witches, they were looking for the commies. And like they would have these hearings and everything, and people would get thrown in jail and investigated.
It's the same thing. Joseph McCarthy.
The McCarthy hearings, crazy stuff.
Yeah. It's a crazy, you know, and it's funny because I had it in here.
Did you? Oh.
Yeah, it's funny because
I did my research today.
It does, it's one of those things where, you know, people want to believe what they want to believe. Yeah. You know, so they're willing, and
especially because it's such a performance in trial. Like you have these the bewitched inside in front of everybody putting on this show. And then I mean it's fucked up, but I mean in the time it was like, yo, they're gonna fucking kill somebody today by hanging. Like, did you see Miss Megan's getting fucking hung today? Let's go and check it out, you know?
That's their TV.
It was like their TV. They didn't have shit. They couldn't read.
Yeah.
They literally had nothing to do.
Know what
the fuck was that?
Car?
Oh.
That
it's like a weird low fart.
It sounded
like a fart. It's like, who's not eating right?
But like, to go back to the beginning of the trials, when Tituba, when she was reciting like some of the things that the devil had told her, all the girls and things started repeating her line for line.
Yeah. So
that was one of the things. And like everyone's like, "Oh my god, you see that? The devil's in the mall."
It's like bullshit going off bullshit, and then everyone's winging it.
Yeah.
You know, it just seems like there's no like thought. It's
one person starts spinning around, they all start spinning.
Yeah, it's like just crazy. It's a performance.
Yeah. I mean, but they really had shit else to do.
Do you know what it is, though? I think at certain point it started off as bullshit.
Yeah.
Like, or maybe there's a few theories. One was involved ergot poisoning.
Yeah, in the rye bread.
And that leads to contortioning, violent, not contortion, convulsions, violent convulsions, hallucinations, temporary paralysis, shit like that. So it kind of fits the symptoms, but the only thing that
dispels it is the fact that they were fine at one point and then...
Well, yeah, that too. They said that could be it, but ergot poisoning also comes with your fingers fucking start to fall off.
Well, not only that, they said that like half of them would have died.
Yeah, it's because it's very poisonous. Yeah. If it was,
they said that half of them would have been fine, but the other half would have died, and then they would have known.
Yeah, sure. but here's the thing though: if it started off as like they had some argot, and then they noticed all the attention that they were getting.
Argot is actually used in LSD, right?
Yeah, this is LSD. Yeah, it's like a component of LSD.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think it could have potentially started like that. They had these convulsions and these fits, and then they got all this attention. Because suddenly these girls are like superstars.
Yeah.
They go town to town trying to root out witchery, like witches, because they'd have like all these.
They had a purpose.
Yeah, like they became like superstars. So I think it could have started off with like real orgot poisoning, and then or maybe mild poisoning, and then they got all this attention, and like, you know, they were told this witch story and they ran with it, and then they just started to fucking believe in their own poison or their own shit.
Well, not only that, think about this. They say that terror itself breeds more terror. So like people, you know, sometimes
get high off your own supply. Because they had this narrative going on.
But not only that, people who aren't associated start to because
they're buying into
seeing.
Well, yeah, that's the flip side to their story is that people are like, oh wow, we got fucking witches around here. This is crazy.
So they start believing it, seeing it.
Well, that's how it goes because you have this bullshit of with the afflicted, the girls were doing, and then everyone's fucking feeding off everything they say, and then it gets back to them, they get a high from it, and then they stop believing their own bullshit, and then this whole town is filled with, you know, witch fever, you know?
Just witches being witches, you know?
Yeah, no shit. But, it almost made it like a self-fulfilling prophecy, though, because it had these, prophecy.
Nailed it.
He's bewitched.
Bewitched.
He's witched.
No.
We got plenty of trees outside.
I'm totally a witch.
I believe it.
So is Eric. I will live.
There were witches back then?
Tituba.
Yeah,
she was dark skinned. That's why she was like, you know.
Yeah, she was Caribbean.
Right.
That's where she was from? I thought she was native.
Barbados.
Barbados is in... Oh, I don't know. I don't know geometry.
I hope to God you mean geography.
I can't draw rectangles either.
He can't tell you the angle of anything.
You know. I don't know geometry. I can't fucking talk to that. Geometry. Oh God. I am just not articulate right now.
Yeah, the actress that played her wasn't as dark, but yeah, original pictures was fucking dark.
Yeah.
Tituba?
Yeah.
I mean, if you go back and watch read. Jesus fucking Christ, I cannot speak.
Yeah.
When you look at the drawings of her back in the day, she just looks like a stereotypical evil demonic witch lady.
Yeah. Oh yeah. The drawings that they made her like look like scary. Yeah. Well, like it just what a crazy time to be.
Oh yeah, it's
alive.
Fucking crazy. I mean, the whole scenario was just I think got out of hand. And then eventually,
once it got too far, too many important people started getting.
Yeah, because then I think public perception kind of like.
I think the public perception
was kind of getting
going away, and then they started. I don't know if it was purposefully started pointing out bigger people in society, and then once that started happening,
yeah,
you know, when Putnam was hung, it was like oh well, this is a big. Important person to die, and then now the governor's wife or whatever. What was that? Was it the governor's wife or the minister's wife? I think that was like the last person that was accused, and then he was like, "All right, it's done."
Yeah, and then once that died down, they had everyone that was still a confessed witch was still imprisoned.
Yeah,
it took
a lot of them had to forfeit their land, even though they weren't really witches.
So they still got screwed over, and I think it was like a year later, Tituba was released.
Yeah,
and then she was actually able to, you know, go back to being.
She
a
made
slave.
it out.
The last person that was
Martha.
hanged was Martha.
Martha, yeah.
But I don't know if she was the last one actually accused. She was just the last one to actually be killed.
Yeah, who was it? Was it the minister's wife or the governor's wife? One of those people like got accused, and that was like one of the last straws. I mean, I know, like, you know, after the fact, the government was like, "Oh shit, we fucked up." At 1711, they ended up actually financially providing back to the families
Yeah,
for the lost. Yeah. To the restitution to their heirs, those who still had heirs, not the beggar and the.
Well, they mentioned that they definitely knew that they made a mistake and they fucked up.
Oh yeah.
Because then they ended up making a memorial from all the victims of the witch trials. They compensated the descendants of
Heck,
the people.
you can go to the Witches Museum in Salem today.
They have
They're making money on that.
Oh
years
yeah,
years
around.
ago.
That's like the mecca of witchery in America.
The witch capital of USA.
It is.
Salem.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's like I've been there. It's fun.
I want to go there.
It's a good time. It's like a good Halloween spot, but it's like
Which museum are we talking about? The good one or the horrible one?
which
I didn't know there was a difference.
The one with the animatronics?
I like
No.
animatronics.
Well, I don't remember.
The one that we just sat through that show and it was just awful. It was just the freaking moving things.
Was it like a ride?
No, you sit
It's
in a
kind of
room.
you sit. The room moves around you, right?
No, you literally all that moves. It just goes from scene to scene, from
Oh,
wall to
okay.
wall. It lights up, and then these animatronics move, and they're like, "You are a witch!" And it's like, wow, I paid $30 fucking for this.
Well, you're playing that witch tax, you know.
The witch hats.
No, but they
You're-
have another. There's another location in Salem where,
Yeah, the Witches Museum.
yeah, you can go and see artifacts. You can actually see
Yeah.
things from there.
Did you guys
That
go
part.
to the
No, we didn't go that part.
We didn't go to that one.
the meeting house one? Did you go to that?
I went when I was a kid.
You went there for that?
too.
Yeah, I barely remember.
It's like a
Went to
big-
the House of Seven Gables too. Good time. Go there. It was
Oh,
fun.
yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all original from the time period, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
That's
there's
pretty cool.
Ceilings
definitely
only down here,
like
it's crazy.
there's a lot of cool things just downtown to do. Like when you're walking around, you know, hundreds of years after the trials, they
governor's
still
wife had
the governor's
pictures.
wife.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Little sad story on that. One of my friends was going through one of the haunted houses over there. It was like, because around Halloween they have a bunch of haunted house things. So he was walking through and went to the end and he saw Kane Hodder was the guy that played Jason. Oh yeah, I forgot you guys are fucking horror nerds. Yeah, Kane Hodder is the guy that played Jason in most of the movies.
Yep.
So like, he was actually just there and then he just stayed and started scaring the shit out of people that were just going through. And then he scared the shit out of him. And my buddy was like, "Fucking Kane Hodder!" And then he got a picture of him. He's like, "Give him a headline."
I love you.
Sign my forehead.
Stab me.
I mean, like he's like,
Stab me.
he's like, it was funny too because they were saying like he's like really like physical, like he's
Yeah.
like moving you around, but like he's a nice guy, like
Yeah.
he's cool. But yeah,
I'm gonna fuck you up now, if that's okay.
if that's okay.
hey, I would get in a fight.
Yeah, rough me up, bro.
Yeah, get in a fight with Kane Hodder just for the story.
Throw me through this window. We let's take a picture.
No, just such a nerd. Just like Kane Hodder, beat me up. Now I got a story for life.
Steven versus Jason.
We're about the same height.
Yeah.
I'm a little fatter, I think.
I mean, but the trials they were interesting.
Very interesting. I really when I started researching it, I was like, I found it fascinating. A lot of these stories and stuff like that.
It was really cool going through and I mean I read and watched the Crucible too when I was younger. So
Didn't know.
That was with
it's the Salem trial basically.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't.
Keira Knightley's in it.
Yeah.
Is it good?
It's okay.
It's okay. Not a scathing review, but it's all right.
It's all right. The book is good.
The book is good.
Yeah.
Crucible.
It's long.
It's a long book. What is it about the whole outlining the whole witch trials?
Yeah, it's
John
basically
Proctor, Goody, whatever.
yeah.
Goody Proctor.
Yeah.
Tituba.
They're all in it.
Whatever the fuck her
Tituba.
mom's name is. Who plays Keira Knightley.
Mercy Jackson.
What's the other girl's name? The main girl. I don't remember.
Is that Mercy?
No.
It's not.
It's the other one. The bitchy one.
The one from Mean Girls.
No, Keira Knightley wasn't in it.
On Wednesday, we wear witch hats.
Was that actually in Mean Girls?
No.
Yeah.
It's on Wednesdays, we wear pink. But I was trying to...
So The
Oh!
Crucible's a play, it's not a book. So.
yeah, it's a play.
Well, you know what? I'll give it to you. That was pretty funny. I just didn't laugh at it.
Thank you.
That was good.
But there is so much in the witch trials. Obviously, we couldn't cover it all, and obviously get all their names in there. So, if you want to know more, or if you know more, leave a
I mean, I started
comment.
Yeah, I started looking into just witches and history, and I found it really fascinating. Like a lot of crazy shit.
I mean, it was definitely at the time wasn't like, this wasn't the only place that this was happening.
Oh no, yeah, it happened in England.
Yeah, it was happening
There are
all
more
over.
interesting places in the world than Massachusetts.
Yeah.
But it's close to home.
But it's close to home, and it was the biggest one.
It was most famous, probably. Yeah.
Lots of people died.
As most great stories often happen.
It's not great unless there's at least one or two deaths.
Yeah, I mean,
It's a dull
keeps
affair.
it interesting. You know?
That's what they say about a Dothraki wedding.
Yeah, it's not interesting. It's a few
It's a
people
dull
die.
affair if there's less than 3 deaths.
That's more of there. That was great. Until that last season, broke my heart.
Yeah, we can maybe do an episode about that.
Oh yeah, let's do that.
I was gonna be bitching the whole time in the background because I'm so angry about
Yeah.
it.
That'd be tough to do in one episode.
I was gonna say that's a multiple episode.
Yeah.
If we just sit back and
That would have
go
to be
through
a story.
Game of Thrones,
Yeah,
that'd be cool. That might, give us a comment if you find that interesting.
yeah, and definitely let us know how you like the Salem witch trials. Do you like what we said? Do you have anything that we missed? Let us know in the comments below, and like and subscribe, and follow us on social media: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all the above. Thanks, guys.
All right, everybody. Bye. I just couldn't talk. Couldn't talk a shit.